I had a 100% block in my right artery, 2 other arteries at 70%. I had a left bundled block, a heart murmur. I had an enlarged heart with leaky valves and scarsidosis of the right side of my heart muscle. I would sit there and say, God, if you get me out of this mess, I promise I will give something back to this world. And it won't just be, you know, like my self-improvement. I want to do something good and big. I wake up one day and I feel incredible pain in my chest. And they give the analogy of, it's like an elephant on your chest. They were so right. I would sit there in bed and I would just wait and breathe slow and I'd say something is really wrong. And it wasn't getting better. In fact, it was getting worse. And I remember once going to some location and I literally couldn't take 7 steps without stopping. And it was during the day and it was like my chest was really hurting and I'm like, ah, man, something's really wrong. I gotta go see the doctor. And they did every single test other than a heart catheter and a heart biopsy. And the test results came back and they said, the cardiologist said to me, well, listen, we need to do a heart catheter and a heart biopsy next. But the indicators are you may need a heart transplant or bypass surgery. So we're being wheeled in toward the surgical ward and he stops, he looks at me, says, hey, Paul, you know, I've only done this for one other patient in 20 years. Would you consider a nutrition change instead of having bypass surgery today? And I'm like, yes, immediately, I'll do anything. Well, I didn't know what this meant. I had never heard of whole food, plant-based. I just knew I didn't have to have surgery today. Everything that was processed, all meat, dairy, and oil, was removed from my house that day. So I went whole food, plant-based, perfect that day. And now the journey just began. So here I am, two weeks into it. I'm eating vegetables that I never liked. And I'm like, okay, you could just ignore that and have bypass surgery, or you could just try and fill up, eat a lot of this. Because I mean, like, I never ate kale, never even heard of kale. It was iceberg lettuce, you know, that was the big thing. And, you know, 14 days in, I started saying, wow, this isn't so bad. I'd follow the recipe. So I realized I was not a good cook. So I went to Dr. Esselstyn's half-day seminar where they teach you how to cook. And I said, oh my God, that's my mission. I was on that gurney. I promised the Lord I would give something back. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little ad in the paper and I'm going to invite anybody in the community to come to my house if they have any heart concerns. And I only knew about heart because that's what I had heart disease. I didn't know about diabetes or obesity or, you know, anything else that would be, you know, benefit from whole food plant-based. So we started having our meetings and it kept growing and growing and growing. When people have a problem with alcohol, they go to AA. And the reason is they need a support group, like-minded people to get through that moment or get through that day. We created that same model with making a food change, because it is not just a food change, it's a lifestyle change. And we would just start having more people and more people because people were willing to consider nutrition before pills and procedures, and they were not getting the answer from their doctors. So they came to our organization for those answers, and we'd have the experts talk to them. So here we are today at the Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group. We're closing in on 6,000 members in about 4 years. I feel great. My cholesterol number is under 100, so it went from 347 to under 100. I have lost almost 70 pounds, and I've kept it off. I'm now 60 years old, and I want to enjoy the next 20 years, 25 years, and I think by eating this way, I am going to do it. My diagnosis was I had a 100% block in my right artery, 2 other arteries at 70%. I had a left bundled block, a heart murmur. I had an enlarged heart with leaky valves and scarsidosis of the right side of my heart muscle. I would just sit there clutching my, my fists and holding myself to them, please stop, it's hurting. When I made the change from your standard American diet to a whole food plant-based diet, I was a carnivore that ate a lot of meat. I was a person who loved dairy. Cheese was my #1. And oil. My idea of the perfect pizza was double cheese, double meat, loaded, okay? Because I worked out, so I always thought, hey, I just keep working out and I'll be okay, I'll balance everything. And I learned later that you cannot work a bad diet. Today, it's only fruits, vegetables, beans, and whole grains. But here's the thing. When you spend 55 years eating the way I did, I still miss it. I'm not denying. I still think about the corned beef sandwiches and the pizza and the steak. I mean, I think about it, but as soon as I think about it, I remember every moment of what I felt like in front of that gurney, hyperventilating because I was scared, and then I got a miracle. Okay, so that keeps me grounded all the time. Because, when you talk to people, they're like, oh, this is too tough, this is too tough. You know what's too tough? Going through bypass surgery, okay? Knowing that if you go back and have the bypass surgery and you go back to eating what you're eating, there's a pretty good chance 10 years ago, you'll get to have it again. Today, I've lost 70 pounds. And I work out. I love working. I always loved working out, so I get to continue to work out. I work out in the morning, and I do a 15-minute walk-run, and that's followed by 45 minutes of weightlifting. I don't do any heavy weights. It's real more core work, a lot of pull-ups, a lot of push-ups, a lot of chin-ups. And then I got into, about a year and a half ago, something called hot vinyasa yoga. And, I just love it. So it's funny, because the first time I went in there, I just got in, I didn't know the flow. I just said, hey, it's kind of warm in here. And well, it's got good music, it's a nice warm place, it's a good visual. So, but I had no idea how to flow. So over the last, it took me about a year to figure out the flow. And what's kind of awesome about the hot vinyasa is, it allows me to finish my workout, get the greatest stretch of my life, appreciate the world I live in. I pray for things, I think of my mom, I think of my Nana, I thank God for my wife. I ask the Lord for, to let my dog live longer without pain. I pray for my kids, and now I pray for PBNSG, the organization we've built, that people find the light and health. That's really what it's about, and that I have the strength every day to spread the word as far and wide as possible. Hey, welcome everybody. We are all in for a real treat today. My name is Paul Chatlin, and I am the founder of the plant-based nutrition support group called PBNSG. We are a nonprofit group established in 2014. We're dedicated to evidence-based education and advocacy of whole food. For anybody out there that's considering this, first, read a few books, learn about it, watch a DVD, see how it's changed other people's lives. Anybody who is plant curious, give it a try. If you had to do something and your life was dependent on it, you do it. Well, your life is dependent on it. You go 60 days, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna lose in 60 days 15 to 20 pounds, as long as you're staying whole food plant-based. Your levels will drop. Whatever your cholesterol numbers are, your A1C numbers are, your weight, everything's gonna drop. Your taste buds will change, which will reinforce you continuing doing this. So I say a 60-day challenge to the world. Okay, 60 days. I also would like to say to people, okay, so let's say you go whole food plant-based and it works for you. Give back. do something to give back. I can't say I was always a taker, but I was never the best giver. I will tell you this from the bottom of my heart. I wake up every day hoping to give to somebody to make a world of difference to that person. And as the organization grows, it just makes me so proud, not only of all the volunteers we have. You know, when I see my son and he's at one of our events, he always says, "You got the greatest, nicest volunteers I've ever known." And I look at him and I said, "You're right." So I say to everybody out there, give back. You will feel great about it. When you could look at somebody and give a suggestion that makes a difference in their life, it's more than making a deposit of money at the bank. You're making a deposit with your soul. And that's what my push would be to anybody. First, understand what it's like to be that plant-based person, and then don't rest on it. Give back.